Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video. And Blizzard was absolutely in the right for naming this ability Overpowered. The new PvP talent, Overpowered Barrier, I'm starting to deem as the strongest ability in the game, bar none. It's so powerful that it can take a specialization like Fire Mage, which is typically on like a lower C tier on a tier list, all the way up to S tier. And what it's going to do is it's going to reduce the duration of our barrier, but increase its absorb value. And if the barrier is fully absorbed, it will reflect the damage back at the attacker, which is really good against these classes like Hunters and Warriors. You can see right at the start of the engagement, I've activated my barrier. The Warrior's lost half of his HP. I've also now lost half of my HP. It is really fast, and that is why on Tuesday they're going to be increasing the stamina and reducing the damage significantly of Warriors moving forward. But we're going to be continuing to look to line up these blazing barriers with big connections of damage in order to absolutely erase anybody that comes our way. So we're going to line of sight the Hunter, knock the Warrior away, get some distance, avoid some of this initial pressure, make it easier for our healer. If we stand in line of sight of the Hunter, we're going to get absolutely destroyed. So we're going to play back a little bit here. Rapid fire, blazing barrier, activate, boom. We took half the Warrior and half the Hunter's health just in that second of time. DB the Warrior's cooldowns, try and get a little bit of distance away from him as soon as we get our altar time, and just line the Hunter in the meantime. Set up a meteor to try and deter him from going after us. We could also use the blazing barrier during the double tap window of the marksmanship hunter, which they're going to access with volley. I see an opportunity to shoot the priest here as he's exposed himself, so we're going to sneak in that polymorph, line of sight the warrior, line of sight the hunter, continue to get into a position where I'm ready to go, activate the blazing barrier as the hunter comes in my line of sight to deter him from attacking me. And unfortunately, you can see since I lined up that blazing barrier with no cooldowns, they couldn't actually break it. So it's a very difficult ability to use in that sense, but if you can, it's really good. We're going to use Ice Wall to line of sight his ultimate penitence, try and go after the hunter a bit, stay away from him now that our healer's in CC, blink away from the warrior. Warrior leaps after us, try and drop down a meteor. It probably shouldn't have done it into Roar of Sacrifice, but we're going to blazing barrier the warrior, and boom, bada bing, bada boom, bada boom, warrior's taken down. So I see that recklessness activate from the warrior. I know he wants to go crazy. I'm just going to stand there and let him kind of go at me, and he is going to get absolutely shredded as a result of that. So it's made tactical kiting change quite a lot in the current pacing, where there are certain moments where you're going to kind of just bait enemies to attack you. You're just going to throw yourself at them, make yourself a target, or just stand still and let them hit you because you're intending to reflect that damage back. So it's like a very super powered thorns for druids that's just absolutely destroying people. I've been able to 1v2 people with this ability. It's really making Fire Mage powerful, and you can do the same thing with Frost as well. So we just run in. I want them to hit me and not the Hunter. So we activate Blazing Barrier, and the Warrior almost died immediately, down at 10%, but now we're down at 10%, so we're going to blink away, get a little bit of distance, and continue to chain out the Pyroblasts and Fire Blasts to squeeze out a really quick round number 2 victory. So you can see it's really fast paced. You got to be on the edge of your seat in order to keep up with the current pacing at the moment. Hopefully on Tuesday it's not as cutthroat, but you can see the breakdown. It's doing it did 5 million damage. That game was like 10 seconds. So 5 million damage in like 10 seconds from one global. And it also absorbs a truck ton of damage as well. It's just perfect in a burst damage scenario where you negate a lot of the upfront damage, and then you get to also return a lot of the upfront damage. So, in this current meta, this ability is just bar none one of the best abilities that you could ever ask for. The only downside is if people don't hit you, and that actually is the counterplay. If you're facing a mage and you notice that you're losing half your HP like this, you want to just not attack the mage. Just ignore them is the only way to deal with it. But we're speared here. He doesn't know that I'm not trapped with him. He's trapped with me. It's time to Blazing Barrier, activate Mass Barrier, and try and reflect some spells here. Holy Priest is on his A game to actually heal through 2 broken barriers right in that position there, and able to recover through it effectively, but doesn't matter. Hunter's just immediately erased. In the meantime, to the Warrior, we distracted with damage on their Warrior while our Warrior was working away at their Hunter, and we're able to get out now a round 3 victory as a result. So our main focus is just trying to get value out of Blazing Barrier at the beginning of the game by kind of tanking them in their face. And then as soon as, Blazing Barriers are down, our combustion is over, our goal shifts gears into kiting and avoiding damage. So using shimmers and altar and displacements and blast waves and Dragon's Breath to avoid damage. And once we've avoided damage and survived, we got to the next Blazing Barrier, we bait them into hitting us again. Or if we've reset our combustion with our shifting power, then we're going to be just sending damage again. So just run in the middle of the map, Here, hit me, guys. Hit me, guys. Look, I'm a fire mage, and you're a hunter. I know you guys really want to hit me, so hit me, guys. Hit me. We just shove combustion with that on cooldown as soon as possible, so we can work on resetting it as well. So we're just sending that off onto the warrior. Holy Priest makes good trades, and we're gonna kind of pull back here. Behind the pillar for the marksmanship hunter a bit though, as I don't have many of my barriers just yet. We're gonna invis, shifting power, blazing barrier now, and we're gonna run on top of the warrior. Unfortunately, he runs away. So you can see like the counter to the strat is just don't attack the mage during that time. And if you can either switch when you see the blazing barrier or not attack them in general, then you will take significantly less damage. Trying to wall the hunter off, I give up on that because our healer's getting CC'd. So I'm just gonna blink back to his pillar, try and get some help here. Double Dragon's Breath, using shimmers, using blink, blazing barriers to bait a little bit of damage here onto the warriors. They crack that shield and force void shift, and I'm just gonna keep pulling away and avoiding damage and trying to get to the next cycle of barriers. Drop down a little meteor here onto the warrior. A couple combos in with fire blasts and phoenix flames to get those instant cast pyroblasts. Try and sneak in a sheep. He fades it and immunes it. We get stunned here, which could be scary, but our priest gets a nice double fear, so we're going to sheep the trinket, get a sheep on the trinket, and we're able to plop the warrior back down into the dirt, back into the garden soil. So this build is like really punishing at mid-range and lower range brackets, and people who just don't understand what it is, and people who are just like frothy at the mouth to attack a mage. It will absolutely punish them. So if you're kind of at the beginning stages of the ladder or PvP or even casual PvP like BGs, people are just going to attack this and they're going to break it. They don't even know. So they don't even know. So you can take advantage of that and have a lot of fun powering them down, likely in the first couple of weeks of the PvP season, until they learn that valuable lesson that this is a cooldown that they must absolutely respect. So if you want to take advantage of that, definitely do it. I'll have the build linked in the description down below, but we're starting round number 4. Same game plan. Hit me, guys. Hit me. Hit me. I'm right here. I'm even hitting your healer. You guys are going to need to acknowledge me. We force pain suppression, combustion, swap to the warrior, start cutting him down. Hunter's now out of stealth. We get silence, but you can see that the enemy team is already shifting their strategies a bit. Oh, maybe not. The hunter volley combos me. I'm going to sheep the hunter behind the pillar here out of line of sight of his healer. On his cooldowns, limit his uptime, wall him off into the corner. Mage still has an amazing baseline kit, even outside of this one kind of niche interaction. I would say the damage output of fire, though, is kind of low without the damage from the absorb shield, which is the only main problem with fire versus frost. But I really love ice wall and all the other parts of this kit. It's easily one of the top 5 most fun specializations. I see an opportunity here to shoot the priest out of the fear, so we're going to blink into the corner, catch him in a sheep. And I'm looking to try and resheep him as well, keep him out of the match as long as possible. And whenever I see an opportunity, I go for polymorphs on the other healer. It's just I don't force it. I don't run in and take excessive damage getting on top of them to try and get a sheep. It's kind of like, let's see if they present an opportunity, or if my teammates can get something for me to start a chain, and then we can get a CC more easily that way. Here we're just firing damage off at this hunter through his wall. We counterspell a heal, an opportunity to swap to the warrior and a stun. So we switch our attention back to the warrior. We alter time here. We're waiting for our barriers, so we're soaking hits. Alter back before it gets purged and before I get silenced and he can't use it. Now we're back at full. Blazing barrier's coming up soon. Blink through. We get stunned by the binding shot, but we're just going to blazing barrier. They swap off the blazing barrier. You can see like right here. If they don't have burst damage or they swap, it's really tough. So honestly, this is a bad blazing barrier, and this is where VOD review, watching your gameplay pack and seeing that can help you become a better player. But then we get a nice combustion meteor combo, and we're feeling good about ourselves again. But paying attention to the cooldowns that enemies have active. Are they rapid firing you? Do they have a double tap little yellow icon from the hunter? Do they have recklessness from the warrior, that red glowing icon? Those types of cooldowns, they want to attack you, right? Because they've amplified their damage during this small window of time, so they really want to benefit from that amplification of damage. And if they haven't amplified their damage, 1, they probably don't have enough damage to break the shield, and then 2, they might just kind of ignore you anyways. So you got to be really careful with when you're timing. Think of it almost like a spell reflect for major enemy cooldowns. The same way that you wouldn't want to just spell reflect nothing, because you get no value out of spell reflect that way. It's the same thing with this blazing barrier. So I run in the middle of the map, but unfortunately, they've kind of learned their lesson by round 6, and they are now no longer attacking me. And here I thought that I had Ring of Frost, but I don't. And I wasted a lot of time trying to figure out why I couldn't cast Ring of Frost on the priest in the angel form here while I was sending pyroblasts onto the warriors. You can still force a lot of cooldowns with just combustion and meteor. But it's definitely a lot harder. I see an opportunity to sheep off a binding shot. Also, when you're not getting attacked as the ranged DPS with double ranged, you want to be more aggressive. You do want to try and push in on top of the enemy healer. But when you're the target, it's the opposite. You want to pull enemies into bad positions out of line of sight of their healer and force their healer into the middle of the map so that your ally caster can actually get crowd control. So we're firing through, but these warriors are absolutely destroying the hunter, and I think we're starting to see the reason why there's some nerfs coming through for warrior onto Tuesday with this round, and he's pulling him around the pillar, trying to get some distance away, but our DRs on the priest are being significantly mismanaged. We're going to ice wall him out of line of sight. Here comes a demolish. Luckily, he's able to get out before it cracks him. Demolish just hit really hard at the moment. I'm using Dragon's Breath defensively, Blast Wave defensively. You can use it to protect yourself, but you can also use it to protect your allies. And then I'm going to Shifting Power, blink away from the fear, and try and get some cooldowns reset. But the priest repositions. We're just going to block the fear. Honestly, I don't want to be CC'd right now because their team's in trouble. And also, I want to bait them to attack me. That's what I've realized is like, hey, I'm going to Nova you guys and stand on top of you. Look at me. Hit me. Hit me. I realized that like I needed to do that. I couldn't kind of just chill and sit back if I don't bait them to hit me. Because sometimes warriors, they'll get Nova and they just hit whatever's next to them. Or maybe I can clip a Blade Storm. And if a Blade Storm does enough damage to break my Blazing Barrier, then we can get some redirected damage. So I realized quickly that I kind of needed to stack, at least when I had Blazing Barriers and stuff, if I was going to try and get damage output. But it was too little too late, I think, at this point in order to come back into the match. And our hunter ends up getting taken down. But we switched over to Fire Mage for a couple of rounds yesterday on my stream, which is linked in the description down below. We're still experimenting with a lot of the classes. I think I definitely underrated Fire Mage. But to be fair, without the Blazing Barrier talent, I don't actually think it's as good as the other mage specs as I've ranked them. So take that with a grain of salt. You likely want to be utilizing this now, and hopefully it'll still remain at least decently strong on Tuesday if you're kind of like a Fire Mage main. But I wanted to just highlight this talent, its usages in PvP, how you can take advantage of it at the moment to flip the script on a lot of situations that are typically very difficult for the mage class and really punish some players for not acknowledging that exchange. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit it with a thumbs up and a comment down below with your thoughts, what specializations are catching your eye for the start of Season 2, and I will see you guys in the next one.